What's up, everybody? I decided to join the flock and chime in a little bit on my thoughts of Godzilla X Kong New Empire. I've seen it 2 times, still marinating some things, still trying to kind of figure out where I come down on other things. In the last couple days, I've seen a lot of comparisons to this movie with the old Showa films. I've seen it compared to Godzilla Minus One. Obviously, I've seen it compared to the other films in the Monsterverse. And because of all that, there's a lot of people who are trying to dictate what Godzilla fans should feel about this movie. The argument that I see most commonly is this movie's just fun. It should just be enjoyed as popcorn entertainment, nothing more, nothing less. So let's take a dive into this movie a little bit, because I definitely will say up front, this is a quote-unquote fun movie. But does it make it a good movie? And what are some of the flaws or qualities of this film that I think could be improved if there's ever a sequel to this? Now, since I really don't plan on doing like any sort of spoiler video for this, once I do this video, I probably won't comment on this movie much more. I will not really hold back on saying certain things if it is relevant to the point I'm trying to make. So there is your somewhat vague spoiler warning. Now, I had some pretty strong opinions about Godzilla vs. Kong. While I did like it, I knew with Adam Wingard coming back, I probably should expect more of the same. And that's pretty much what this is. Now, is it to a better degree or to a lesser degree in quality? I think I have to say it is a bit to a lesser degree. I think Godzilla X Kong or Godzilla vs. Kong, whatever the first one was called at this point, because now it's confusing. I think that was a better movie. When I compare it to the rest of the Monsterverse, this film might be my least favorite of all of them. This really doesn't even feel like the same universe as Godzilla 2014. It's amazing to even imagine that this is all in the same reality. It's like when Fast and the Furious came out and they were crazy in those movies for driving under 18-wheelers and stealing DVD players, and that was the big heist. And now they're launching into satellites and driving cars out of planes. It's just gotten a little bonkers. I definitely feel like we got to the point in the Monsterverse that's akin to Vin Diesel stomping on the ground and the whole parking garage comes down underneath him on top of the villain. So this is where I typically would talk about the plot, but in this case, I really don't want to get into that much. I mean, there's not much plot there. And even when it plays out on screen, the first half of this movie kind of drags a little bit, with the exception of a few Kong scenes and the Godzilla scenes where they're probably 30 to 40 seconds long each anyway, if that. We get extended time, of course, with our human characters. Rebecca Hall's back and joined by Dan Stevens. Bernie's back, and so it's more or less the same of kind of what you got in the last couple movies. The human characters really are just meant to basically to be like ring announcers when you're watching wrestling, and they literally tell you step by step of what's happening. Like, it just felt really corny with that guy who was on the submarine and literally telling everybody what Godzilla's up to, and then he just closes off like, Godzilla's going in the lair. Like, all right, bro, we get it. We see that. If you liked Bernie in the first Godzilla X Kong, you'll get more of him here. So if you liked him then, you'll probably like him now. The forced comedy relief, it's clearly why he's in these movies. I don't really think his jokes land well in this. I mean, I know the guy's funny. I liked him in Bullet Train, but the way the script is written in this movie, it just seems more driven to a younger audience, which is okay, but not necessarily what I was looking for. And in typical Monsterverse fashion, they bring in excellent talent and underutilize them criminally. This time it's Dan Stevens. Loved him in the show Legion, one of my freaking trippiest shows that I've ever watched. Total mindfuck, but loved it. And to see him just be used as, again, slapstick comic relief, but I expected it. And just like the last film, this movie is really Kong driven. He's clearly the character that they build a plot around, that they think can relate to the audience with. And Kong is great in this movie. Like, for a character that has no spoken lines, he expresses so much emotion. He's the funniest part of the movie when comedy is used. And he's overall just, you sympathize with his entire arc in this movie. He was done really, really well. And in contrast to this, Godzilla is basically used as a deus ex machina. He's ripping through monsters in cities like a Mortal Kombat character ladder on beginner mode. You can kind of tell they don't really know how to make him more of a character. Like I said, he's a unit, he's a plot device. He's going there just absorbing powers and energy and just building up for when he's inevitably called for the finale. And to be fair, there are Showa Godzilla films where that's his role. He's on the title card, and then you just don't really get much out of him until shit's really about to hit the fan and he shows up and takes care of business and goes about his business. Again, not really a problem with that, just something I'm definitely noticing. Where the film does kind of stagger for me a little bit is more so on the antagonist side. We have our lead ape and our lead giant lizard fighting a bigger ape and a bigger giant lizard. Not really doing much for me at this point. Kong's interactions with the Scar King, I almost forgot his name for a second. It's Caesar and Koba. We've seen all this before. And the way the Scar King was built up, he really wasn't that impressive to me. Neither was Shimu. In fact, Shimu, I don't know what I think about Shimu, but wasn't terrifying, wasn't badass, nothing. Kong was already fighting Scar King kind of on equal terms before he called Shimu into the fight against Kong. And then once Kong brought Godzilla into it, I mean, Godzilla just kind of laid waste to everybody through a good chunk of it. So I felt like the stakes were higher with Ghidorah, and then I felt like the stakes were higher with Mechagodzilla. I kind of felt like they didn't really live up to the bill. Then we have Suku, I guess. That's our Monsterverse version of Son of Kong, or could be. Not bad. It's the new trend is bringing little baby versions of characters in all the popular movies these days and making them really cute and hopefully selling a lot of toys. But honestly, Suko did have some funny ass moments. It's amazing how many of the characters and the monsters in this movie reminded me so much of other characters. It's already well stated that Godzilla looks like he's gone Ultra Instinct. Kong with that axe walks around and has mannerisms similar to like Kratos. But yet when he has that gauntlet, we obviously have like a little bit of a Thanos hybrid there. Scar King is Koba from Planet of the Apes, 100% in my opinion. And Shimu is a Light Fury looking thing from How to Train Your Dragon. It looks just as fierce. And then we have Suko, who I get Diddy Kong vibes, but also Mini-Me vibes. Like, tell me some of these expressions don't look like freaking Mini-Me. It was, and again, spoiler warning, but it was really nice to see Mothra again. Not sure how I feel about her just appearing out of like dust particles rather than actually having her caterpillar stage in her new lifespan. But again, she was clutch. I think she was my favorite out of all of them. I was kind of surprised that Godzilla went through two of the titans that have been well documented as far as like the comics and everything goes. I mean, he kind of ripped through them like nothing. I was surprised by that. Still no Rodan, which kind of bums me out. Where the hell did Rodan go? Also, the amount of people that died in this movie and it just gets glossed over like nothing. I mean, it's an incredible amount of people, and they're killed by heroic characters as well. Like Godzilla, I'm sure, has taken out like an entire city. and no one bats an eye. This movie's definitely not scared about being ridiculous. I mean, we see a full-fledged suplex, Godzilla doing swan dives. I did like the fight where the gravity got flipped, and I thought that was pretty cool. And then, of course, Mothra's just in there cruising and carving her way through people. And then once they got kind of like up in Brazil, I do feel like that final confrontation was lackluster. And again, there was never a moment where it seemed like the battle wasn't in Godzilla's favor. It's Godzilla specifically. I'm going to say Godzilla and Kong, but Godzilla just kind of seemed like he was powered up enough to the point where nothing was really a danger to him. And that kind of goes across with the plot, too. I found that a little, I don't know, it kind of took the threat away, but they said that Godzilla had already fought Scar King and his army of Kongs, and even though he barely survived, he imprisoned all of them. So he's beaten them before. So now with a Godzilla who's 20 times stronger than he was in the last movie, plus Kong, who has a gauntlet that's strong enough to put that same Godzilla to sleep, it really kind of felt like a walk in the park compared to last time. But just for anybody keeping score back home, Godzilla and Kong kind of got into a scrap again, and once again, Godzilla had him in that same position, just like on top of the battleship, where he had Kong pinned down and was about to just eviscerate this guy, and Mothra comes in and stops the fight, just like she did in Ghidorah the Three-Headed Monster. So, except when that was when Godzilla was fighting Rodan. But still, nice little callback there. Not sure if that was intentional or not. There was some little Easter eggs as well. That I seen like one I saw like, what was it, Fight Fight Fight, you know, this little song from Godzilla vs. Megalon. There was some other things. I think there was a Planet X reference in there somewhere. But yeah, so all in all, I'm gonna start wrapping this up. I didn't love the movie. I think it's pretty clear from this video. I didn't hate it either. It's middle ground territory. I think I enjoyed it a little more the second time now that my expectations were truly refined to where they need to be. I would say like a 6.5 out of 10, to be fair. But it is probably my least favorite Monsterverse movie. Again, I do like the Monsterverse though, but I do like my Godzilla films feeling a little grittier. If there are giant monsters running around and there's a devastating toll of life being taken, I do think there should be some ramifications. A little bit of realism thrown in, a little less jokes, especially when the jokes don't land. If you want to make a funny Godzilla movie, we have had those in the past. I love Godzilla vs. Gigan for what it is. It's just not a great movie. I don't think a fun Godzilla movie will ever be as special to me as a Godzilla movie that really takes real risks with its characters and story and still lands it. That to me is where I most appreciate the genre. But yes, fun Godzilla movies are there. If you're gonna make a funny movie, be funnier. Don't make it forced humor for like children. Like, I wanted a higher stakes Transformers movie for a long time. But I liked Transformers Rise of the Beast because the comedy was better than this. It had heart and it still had great action. So you could have a fun movie and still not just have your human characters, especially when you have really talented actors and actresses. You don't have to give them lazy scripts. You don't have to give them really lazy dialogue. I think it's perfectly fine to demand a little more. These human characters take up a lot of screen time. Make them more enjoyable, or make them more worthwhile. And that's it. Again, if you liked the last Godzilla movie in the Monsterverse, or the last Monsterverse film, I should say, you will probably, in all likelihood, like this. Far Cry from 2014. So if that was your favorite Monsterverse movie, you're getting a little bit probably more of what you might not be missing. But this movie looks like it's going to be off to a strong opening weekend. If it carries through, best believe we will get another sequel. So, you know, if this keeps bringing in money, I would imagine that the formula isn't going to change too much. I hope it doesn't get too stupid. Like, when it came out with Thor Ragnarok, everybody was like, oh, this is amazing. I already thought Thor Ragnarok was a little bit too silly. It was like over the top funny. It was like at the expense of the character of Thor. And then they came out with Love and Thunder and they made things way worse. And then nobody liked Thor Love and Thunder, right? So I just don't want them to get too lazy and too comfortable with just putting characters into stupid situations and doing things for the sake of doing it. Like again, you could have fun, but you could still have appropriate gravity or weight given to the situation. There's a balance to be had there. Also guys, just before I let you guys go, a couple of things that I do want to hit on as my last notes, just on a more positive vibe. I loved Godzilla's fight with Scylla, or Skilla, whatever his name is. Quick and abrupt, but still really cool. I loved Godzilla in France because it's always cool to see him absorb the radiation and power up. Though I thought initially it was going to be a dark, creepy, rainy scene like something out of 2014, but they really didn't go that route. I thought that would have been really cool. And also one more thing, there's that one ape that kind of kept bullying Kong, or trying to at least. He reminded me of that weird dude in Guardians of the Galaxy with the knife. He just kept getting played out over and over again, and he had that little sulky look to him towards the end finally. I found that part really funny. But anyways, thank you guys for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Let me know what your thoughts are down below. Like and subscribe. Peace.